Kieran suggested setting up an ambush once Badan arrived. He just hoped their target would be loaded with points. After 4 long hours, Lufan and Nyx finally made it to the swampy area they'd been aiming for. Lufan scanned the surroundings, noticing how the muddy ground made moving around a real pain. As he trudged through the marsh, a black snake suddenly slithered right past him. Sensing danger, Lufan told Nyx to use her perception skill to check for camouflaged enemies. Nyx obeyed, sweeping the area with her senses. Sure enough, 3 figures popped up on her radar, clearly planning an ambush. Lufan pulled out his dagger, ready for a fight, and called out for the trio to show themselves. Without hesitation, he struck the black snake with his black dragon aura attack. Out of nowhere, Kieran appeared above the snake, a level 60 poison healer representing the Ying nation, ranked 6th in the exam. Lufan admitted to himself that he was a little disappointed, expecting someone like Charles instead. Kieran checked Lufan's stats and scoffed, seeing he was only level 32 with a useless dragon tamer class. But his jaw dropped when he noticed Lufan was actually in first place, with a whopping 550,000 points. He couldn't believe it. Just yesterday, Lufan had been dead last. Still, Kieran grinned, thinking this was his lucky day since the big prize had walked right into his hands. He raised his staff, green poison aura swirling around it as he prepared to strike. Lufan braced himself, dagger at the ready to block whatever was coming. Kieran fired off a toxic spell straight at him. He was beyond confident, already imagining himself taking all of Lufan's points. But Lufan didn't just stand there. He dodged the attack like it was nothing. He taunted Kieran, daring him to try again if he thought he could actually land a hit. Meanwhile, Nyx started chanting, forming a massive lava explosion spell that grew bigger by the second. Kieran wasn't fazed by the giant fireball, convinced he could handle it easily. He quickly shot a poison spell at Nyx, one designed to interrupt spellcasting. It worked. Nyx had no choice but to cancel her lava explosion mid-chant. Then, Kieran and his snake burrowed into the ground, disappearing from sight. Lufan stayed alert, knowing 2 more enemies were still hiding nearby. Suddenly, Weiqi came at him from behind, swinging a huge spiked iron ball on a chain. Lufan deflected the attack with his dagger, sending the chain flying off to the side. Nyx lunged at Weiqi with Dragon Claw, protecting Lufan from the sneak attack. Weiqi tried to block, but it was no use. The force sent her crashing into a tree, leaving her badly injured. She couldn't understand how a level 32 guy could hit so hard. Despite the pain, Weiqi let out a creepy laugh, like she still had some trick up her sleeve. Lufan stayed cautious, watching her carefully. He figured they'd try a combined attack next, so he warned Nyx to be ready. Sure enough, attacks came from all directions, trapping Lufan in a deadly pincer. But he didn't panic. He sliced through the poison orbs. Nyx handled the snake, grabbing it by the head mid-strike. Then she slammed it into the ground like a rag doll. Badan and Kieran were stunned. Their attacks had been shut down so easily. Weiqi couldn't believe it either. Their whole ambush had failed miserably. Badan warned the others to be careful, realizing Lufan didn't fight like any level 32 they'd ever seen. But Kieran wasn't giving up, still determined to kill Lufan and take those insane points for himself. Lufan mocked them hard, calling their ambush pathetic since they'd only managed to hurt themselves. Weiqi lost her cool, rage boiling over at his insults. Lufan shrugged them off, calling them clowns and telling them to bring it. His dagger glowed with black dragon aura as he got ready to end the fight. Kieran commanded his black snake to unleash a venomous spray, the kind that could leave its target poisoned and helpless. Of course, Lufan wasn't about to let that slide. He ordered Nyx to deal with that slithering nuisance. Without hesitation, Nyx stomped on the snake's body to pin it down, then grabbed its head in a crushing grip. With one swift motion, she ripped the snake's head clean off its body, leaving it lifeless in an instant. Kieran just stood there, stunned, watching his snake get taken out in a single move. Badan sprang into action, firing arrows in a desperate attempt to shield Kieran. But Lufan easily deflected those weak shots like they were nothing. Kieran finally finished chanting his ultimate spell, 10,000 Snakes Formation, and suddenly, thousands of venomous snakes surged toward Lufan. Lufan dodged and sliced through them, but the snakes just kept coming. Confident he could hold Lufan off alone, Kirin told the other two to handle Nyx instead. Weiqi urged Badan to end this fight quickly, but before they could move, a massive explosion erupted right in front of Kirin. Lufan warned Kirin not to get cocky as he transformed Nyx into her world-destroying form. To Lufan, this whole attack was just a cheap trick, totally useless. Kirin, still full of himself, swore he'd make Lufan regret those words. He launched another toxic orb spell while signaling Weiqi and Badan to attack together. Weiqi hurled a giant iron ball at Lufan, but he blocked it effortlessly with his Dragon Claw transformation. Badan, sneaking from behind, fired a volley of arrows, only for Nyx's wings to tank the hits like they were mere tickles. The arrows barely fazed her. Undeterred, Kirin summoned his giant black snake again. The serpent unleashed another deadly poison breath attack. Nyx shielded her master with everything she had. The deflected poison ended up hitting Kirin's own teammates instead. Kirin didn't even care. Even if Nyx was immune, he figured Lufan would be done for if the poison touched him. Weiqi, now choking from the toxins, begged Kirin to help. Watching them writhe in agony, Kirin briefly considered finishing them off and taking their points. But he quickly shook off the dark thought. Instead, he healed Weiqi just enough to keep her from dying, and she gasped in relief. Kirin apologized and promised to make it up to her later. Weiqi told Badan to check if Lufan was even still alive. Lufan, of course, casually brushed it off, saying he was perfectly fine. Turns out he'd gained poison immunity from riding Nyx, syncing with her dragon abilities. Kirin started sweating bullets. None of his toxins worked on Lufan at all. Forget Charles and Andre. Lufan was the real threat here. Frantic, Kirin yelled at his team to kill Lufan, even though he had no clue how. Weiqi arrogantly declared that her teammates were useless and that she alone would take down Lufan. Out of nowhere, a massive blast of fire erupted from behind Weiqi, catching everyone off guard. Lufan stayed alert, assuming it was backed up from their alliance arriving to help. Meanwhile, Weiqi thought it was their fourth teammate, Yasanrai, finally showing up. But her hopes were quickly crushed when the flames turned on her instead. Turns out, it was the flame warrior from the Snow Nation, Andre. Andre casually told Lufan not to worry since he was here to back him up. He even complimented Lufan's dragon, Nyx, calling her fierce and intimidating. Nyx bristled, ready to attack Andre, thinking he was a threat, but Lufan calmed her down, assuring her he wasn't an enemy. Lufan was impressed by Andre's fire skills and wondered just how strong he really was. Andre just laughed, saying these three couldn't even make him break a sweat. Weiqi, stubborn as ever, forced herself back up. Her endurance was no joke. She was pissed that they were casually chatting like she wasn't even a threat. Andre, full of confidence, said he'd handle the giant woman and asked if Lufan could deal with Badan and Kirin. Lufan awkwardly admitted he didn't actually need the help. Weiqi, fed up with the disrespect, transformed into her second form. She shifted into a massive female bear, crackling with lightning aura, looking even more dangerous. She swung a giant iron ball straight at Andre, aiming to crush him. But Andre blocked it effortlessly, showing off his insane strength. He then told Lufan to watch his own back while he handled Weiqi. Lufan was kinda annoyed that Andre stole his point, but since the guy meant well, he let it slide. Instead, he turned his attention to Kirin and Badan, ready to finish them fast. The two were already prepping their attack, sticking to their original plan. Kirin sent his black snake to spew poisonous breath at Lufan. Lufan dodged easily, confused why Kirin kept using the same weak moves. Suddenly, another snake lunged from behind, trying to ambush him, but Lufan's reflexes were too sharp. He sliced it without breaking a sweat. Kirin smirked. His snakes were immortal, regenerating no matter how many times they got cut. He cast Serpent Resurrection magic to speed up their revival. But Lufan was done playing around. He transformed Nyx into Destruction Dragon form. Once in her new form, Nyx unleashed lava flame magic. A scorching breath attack incinerated Kirin's snakes in seconds. Kirin barely blocked the flames and yelled at Badan to attack. Badan had been charging up his arrow this whole time. A violent purple lightning wrapped around it as he took aim at Nyx. He fired. The shot was insanely fast, streaking toward her. But Lufan wasn't about to lose in a lightning battle. He decided to show real thunder magic. He chanted Azure Dragon's roar, forming a bright lightning orb in his hand. Badan froze. He recognized this as a rare high-tier spell. A Thunder Dragon emerged, blasting Badan's attack away like it was nothing. The shockwave kept going, wrecking everything nearby, including Kieran's snakes. The damage was brutal. After taking that deadly hit, Kieran realized they stood no chance of winning. Without hesitation, he jumped onto the Black Serpent's back, ready to bail. Badan panicked, begging Kieran not to leave him behind, his voice shaking with desperation. But Kieran couldn't care less. He bolted straight into the swamp, vanishing without a second thought. The follow-up attack finished Badan right then and there, leaving him dead on the spot with nothing but regret. Lufan was pissed watching Kieran ditch his teammate like that. He swore under his breath that he wouldn't let the guy get away with it. Without wasting time, Lufan, using his dragon language magic, he shot up into the air over the swamp and unleashed his lava explosion, flooding the entire area with vicious flames. Sure enough, Kieran didn't stand a chance. The fire swallowed him whole, turning the swamp into his grave. Lufan casually checked his points, raising an eyebrow at the insane gap between him and the other participants. Just then, Andre called out to him, snapping Lufan out of his thoughts. He'd almost forgotten Andre was still there and turned to check on him. A massive explosion lit up the battleground where Andre had been fighting, smoke and debris flying everywhere. Chiu was down, completely wrecked, her bare form limp and helpless on the ground. Andre wasn't naive enough to let an enemy walk away. He raised his axe high, ready to finish the job. Chiu panicked, begging him to stop, but Andre didn't hesitate. In his mind, traitors who conspired behind people's backs and plotted murders didn't deserve mercy. He tossed Chiu's body towards Lufan, figuring he'd let Lufan take the points. Catching on, Lufan pulled out his dark serpent bow without missing a beat. A single shot pierced Chiu midair, ending her for good. Andre clarified the misunderstanding. He just thought Lufan was getting bullied. Turns out, he was wrong. Lufan laughed, thanking him and joking that he wouldn't say no to free points like that in the future. Andre shrugged, saying he didn't mind, especially after that amazing food Lufan had shared. Seeing Lufan was fine, he got ready to leave and hunt for more points. But before going, Andre's stomach growled. Awkwardly, he asked if Lufan had any more of that delicious food lying around. A little later, they took a break, digging into Aunt Han's cooking. Andre admitted outright that since trying her food, he couldn't touch anything else. He even offered to buy some with his own points, but Lufan refused, saying he'd hook him up for free. Andre couldn't believe Lufan would turn down points, especially in a test where points were everything. Curious, he checked Lufan's total score and nearly choked. 760,000 points? Lufan glanced at Andre's status too, noticing his mission to defeat the demon of the Nine Realm. It hit Andre then. With that many points, had Lufan already cleared the Dark Tower, sipping his tea like it was no big deal? Lufan confirmed he'd been targeting the Dark Tower from the start. Andre shuddered, imagining the kind of power that took. He'd have died by the third wave, yet Lufan cleared the whole thing. Honestly, Andre was just glad he wasn't on Lufan's bad side. If Charles and the others were stuck in this mission too, they'd stand zero chance. With a sigh, Andre admitted he was equal parts jealous and impressed. Lufan shrugged, saying it took a lot of effort to take down the demon. Mouthful of food, Andre mumbled that dragon riders were broken as a class, especially with a true dragon on their side. Nyx suddenly growled at Andre, eyeing him like he was stealing her meal. Lufan pieced it together. Andre must have tried the Dark Tower mission and failed. Andre nodded, admitting he'd barely escaped alive and couldn't even take another mission after that. A sly grin spread across Lufan's face as an idea hit him. He leaned in, offering Andre a deal. Moments later, Andre accepted, though he couldn't help but ask about Nyx glaring at him like she wanted to eat him. Lufan explained, Dragonkin weren't exactly friendly to outsiders, but as long as he was around, Nyx wouldn't attack. Lufan can't tell the real reason as Andre had eaten Nyx's favorite dumplings. With that settled, they headed for the Dark Tower. Almost immediately, monsters stirred as Lufan and Andre approached, sensing their presence. The air grew tense. This wasn't going to be easy. With a dead serious expression, Andre asked how they were going to handle this mess. Lufan casually pulled out his dagger and suggested Andre should just worry about himself. Lufan wasn't sure Andre could handle these monsters now, but Andre reassured him the first 2 waves were no big deal. Getting the hint, Lufan immediately left the outside monsters to Andre. Calling out Astra, he headed straight inside to wipe out the rest of the creatures. Andre agreed, confident he could hold his own, but then Andre suddenly processed Lufan's words and was shocked he planned to go in alone. Lufan shifted Nyx into her Starlight Dragon form without hesitation. Then he just walked into the Dark Tower like it was nothing, telling Andre to stay sharp. Meanwhile, Andre was still trying to wrap his head around Lufan having another dragon. Inside, Lufan, Nyx, and Astra tore through monsters like it was routine, because for them, it was. They quickly reached the boss room, where an ancient insectoid monster glared daggers at them. The boss's stats hovered around 35,000 across the board. Having already killed one of the 9 realm demons, Lufan felt way more relaxed this time. He summoned Fei and prepped a little welcome gift for the boss. Fei used Spirit Shatter, a skill that could merge with allies and boost their stats by 200%. She linked it to Lufan, and all 3 dragons moved in to finish the boss fast. Thanks to Fei's buff, Nyx's spirit attribute shot past 100,000. Nyx struck first with her dragon claws, the aura slicing through the monster mob. Then, Lufan and Astra prepped a combo attack, Astra's star skill and Lufan's dark serpent bow. After charging up, they unleashed it simultaneously. The attack hit like a meteor, incinerating everything in its path. The resulting explosion was downright terrifying. Fei then dumped every buff she had onto Astra, sending his stats into overdrive. Astra charged up his star magic, the same power that had obliterated the Earthshade demon before. At full power, he blasted the remaining monsters with his star breath, wiping them out instantly. Just like that, the stragglers were gone. But Lufan wasn't satisfied. He knew they could go even faster. He ordered Fei to summon her 2 fallen corpse dragons, but Astra suddenly moved on his own, no command needed. He activated Starfall, a rain of stars that exposed hidden enemies, and sure enough, more monsters appeared. One of them, an abyss moth, looked pissed. It shot a venom attack straight at Astra. Already in galaxy form, Astra countered with black hole, a dark void opening up. It swallowed both the attack and the newly revealed abyss moths. Not stopping there, he spawned multiple black holes at once. The moths didn't stand a chance. It was a brutal cleanup. Astra looked beyond annoyed, like he'd just been bothered by a bunch of flies. But then the boss monster vanished, only to reappear right behind Lufan. Out of nowhere, this giant fist came flying in and smashed right into the centipede boss. The centipede boss got sent flying backward, scrambling to see who'd just hit him. Turns out that punch came from the Earthshade demon that Lufan had summoned. The centipede boss was totally confused why an Earthshade demon would be here helping humans. But the demon wasn't answering questions. It just started wailing on him harder. Nyx wasn't sitting this one out either. She flew straight up and stomped the boss down into the dirt. Even after taking some serious damage, the centipede somehow kept hanging in there. The boss started trash-talking the Earthshade demon about losing twice to humans and now being their lapdog. Then the centipede tried to wrap up Lufan with its body for a crushing attack. The Earthshade demon wasn't having it though. It blocked the move completely. Pissed off, the centipede boss pulled out its shadow split clone move, surrounding the demon with multiple copies. Didn't faze the Earthshade demon one bit. It started smashing those clones left and right. Lufan decided to really turn the screws by calling in the whole Earthshade demon squad. One by one, more demons started pouring into the battlefield. That's when the centipede boss started sweating bullets. He never thought Lufan actually tamed the entire Dark Tower forces. The Earthshade demon capitalized on the boss's shock with a clean hit right to the face. The rest of the demon squad jumped in too, all attacking at once. The centipede's minions weren't about to let their boss go down easy though. They intercepted the demon squad's assault. What followed was this insane, all-out brawl between both sides, the kind of epic showdown nobody had ever seen before. Just like the first Earthshade demon, this one couldn't believe a human had this kind of power either. The centipede boss lost it and started unleashing his poison attack. A massive poison explosion filled the entire battlefield. The toxic cloud didn't care who was friend or foe. It was hitting everyone. Cornered, the centipede boss tried to bolt under cover of the poison fog, but Lufan saw right through it. He buffed up all his dragons with power boosts. Fei moved over to Astra and hooked him up with some buffs too. Astra knew exactly what to do. He started chanting that terrifying star magic of his. Meanwhile, Nyx was breathing dragon fire all over the centipede boss. 2 fallen corpses came in hot, with their deadly Doomfall skill too. After finishing his chant, Astra unleashed this insane star dragon blast. All 3 of those ridiculous attacks connected, leaving the centipede boss badly hurt. Outside the Dark Tower, Andre was busy wiping out monsters left and right. One of them tried to sneak up on him from behind, but he casually blocked the attack with his fiery magic like it was no big deal. Then he jumped up, swinging his axe like a total badass. With one powerful strike, he sliced through the monster, his fire magic reducing it to ashes in seconds. After that, Andre turned his attention to the Dark Tower's gate, waiting for the next wave of monsters to show up. But he got confused when nothing came out. Not a single creature. Out of nowhere, a massive explosion rocked the Dark Tower from the inside, shaking everything. The blast was so intense that it sent Andre flying backward. He hit the ground hard, skidding across the dirt near the tower. Andre couldn't help but wonder what the heck was going on inside. He started worrying about Lufan. Before long, Nyx showed up, holding the nearly dead head of the centipede boss in her hand. Lufan complimented Andre on how quickly he'd cleared out all the monsters outside. Andre turned around just in time to see Lufan flying toward him before tossing the boss's head his way. Andre was shocked. He could barely believe what he was seeing. Lufan told him to finish off the boss before it could regenerate. Andre hesitated since Lufan was just handing over the points, but Lufan didn't seem to care. Impressed, Andre admitted Lufan was a real one. He raised his axe. Without another thought, he chopped the centipede boss's head off and claimed the points. The next morning, the exam area was still set in the swamp. Andre felt lucky to have Lufan as a friend instead of an enemy. Scoring 200,000 points shot him straight to rank 2. Lufan was happy too, but their teamwork ended there. Andre went quiet, staring at the ground as he thought about everything they'd been through. He couldn't help but feel disappointed that the national exam forced them to be rivals. If he'd met Lufan sooner, he would have treated him to drinks, but Lufan brushed it off. There'd be plenty of chances later. They promised not to die and to grab those drinks someday. Andre then tried to give Lufan 50,000 of his points. Lufan was confused. He didn't need them at all. Andre insisted, since he'd messed with Lufan's PvP, but ended up helping him complete the mission. Lufan respected that kind of attitude. Andre got a little flustered by the praise. Before leaving, he had one last question. He wondered why Lufan hadn't just taken out Kieran and the others right away. Lufan just wanted to see different skills in action from another class to broaden his knowledge. Plus, he knew he'd win anyway. Andre could only laugh, even more impressed. He said his goodbyes. Right then, Lufan had gained a new, reliable friend with the heart of a true warrior. In the VIP room, the Snow Country Overseer was hyped, praising Andre for taking down one of the 9 realm demons. He also gave his deepest thanks and respect to Master Han. Master Han agreed, saying Andre's chivalrous nature, always fair and helping those in need, made him deserve it. Meanwhile, in the corner, Overseer Tai was fuming as Jinhan dropped to rank 3. Controlling a 9-realm demon and failing his mission had him beyond frustrated. He was ready to pull his final move. But suddenly, an officer called for Overseer Jin. The officer delivered some important news that caught Overseer Tai off guard. A sneaky grin spread across his face. With this last move, Lufan was done for. He ordered the officer to take him there. A staff member handed a mysterious black box to Overseer Tai upon entering the room. Inside that box lay some kind of magical scroll, the type that could teleport people wherever they wanted to go. The staffer casually mentioned how there hadn't been any cheating incidents involving Lufan recently. Overseer Tai looked totally fed up. But instead of trying to mess with Lufan again, he seemed dead set on going with some last resort plan. He barked orders at the staff to guard the hallway until he got back, no excuses. Next thing anyone knew, Supervisor Tai activated that teleportation scroll and bounced to some secret national exam dimension to deliver a message. The staff panicked, trying to stop him because that scroll was experimental and totally unstable. Turned out Tai had already hacked the surveillance cameras, and now these poor staffers had to defend that hallway with their lives. Before dipping out, Tai dropped one last order about activating something called the Ultimate Mission over in some desert testing area. Some dude was about to accept a mission assignment. Of course it was Lufan. The guy kept getting missions to take down those 9-realm demons like it was his day job. He spotted one of those creepy dark towers moving straight toward him this time. Lufan looked pumped that he didn't have to go searching for the tower for once. He motioned to Nyx like, "Let's roll," and headed straight for the dark tower. Along the way, he couldn't stop shaking his head at how shameless Tai's country was, rigging the exam missions this hard. Typical Dark Tower behavior. Monsters immediately swarmed Lufan the second he got close. Lufan summoned Fei and Astra without missing a beat, transforming Astra into that slick starlight dragon form. Then he pulled out that star shuttle move that literally tears through space to teleport anywhere. After ripping open a portal, the whole squad vanished inside. Lufan already standing inside the Dark Tower like he owned the place. He strutted forward and came face to face with some boss monster chilling on a throne surrounded by minions. The thing looked like some level 85 sea lion built like a tank, clearly a physical powerhouse. Lufan just pulled out his dagger like this would be some quick work. He called in both Earthshade demons and that centipede boss from before. For good measure, he added 2 fallen corpse dragons to the party. Lufan advanced with his army of dragons and bone monsters moving in sync. Meanwhile, back in the desert area, some poor exam participant was begging for his life. There was Musashi standing over him with a sword to his throat, being a total bully. Dude threatened to kill him and steal all his points unless he made the guy agree to scream that everyone from his country were pigs and dogs. Scared out of his mind, the guy started nodding agree. He even dropped to his knees, ready to humiliate himself. Plot twist. Jinhan straight up murked the guy instead of Musashi. Jinhan acted all annoyed, telling Musashi to stop wasting time and go hunt for points properly. Musashi whined like a baby about Jinhan stealing his points, while Jinhan clapped back about him being too slow. Out of nowhere, a portal ripped open behind them and Overseer Tai stepped through looking like he meant business. On the other side, the lion boss moved lightning fast, lunging at Lufan with a thunderclaw strike. Before the attack could land, the centipede boss suddenly wrapped itself around the lion boss's body. The lion boss looked totally confused, just like the centipede boss had earlier when it sided with the humans. Still dazed, a brutal strike from the Earthshade demon slammed into it, sending the lion boss crashing to the ground. And just like that, the lion boss was dead, ganged up on by 2 of the 9-realm demons. Lufan walked over and turned the boss into his new puppet. Out of nowhere, he started thinking about how the Tai Nation had tried to cheat and kill him. He couldn't help but wonder what would happen if he unleashed all 3 demon bosses and their armies. Meanwhile, over where Jinhan was, he rode his shadow creature with Musashi hanging on for dear life, terrified of falling off. Musashi couldn't figure out why Jinhan hadn't taken the ultimate mission the Tai Overseer had mentioned. He remembered the Overseer's warning about Lufan's points and how he'd cleared the Dark Tower. Then, the Overseer noticed the portal was destabilizing and prepared to leave. He reminded Jinhan the ultimate mission was active and told him to make the most of it. He explained that the ultimate mission was meant to target and take down the top-ranked participant. Musashi resigned himself to following Jinhan's lead, muttering about how Tai was full of cheats and losers who played dirty. Jinhan suddenly stopped his shadow creature, sending Musashi tumbling forward. Musashi thought Jinhan was mad about his sarcastic comment, but actually, Jinhan was just shocked. Seeing the Dark Tower was moving straight toward them, a bunch of demon soldiers were dragging it with giant chains. Musashi felt a terrifying aura coming from the tower. Jinhan calmed him down though, confident they could handle it with their strength. Musashi, full of arrogance, drew his sword, ready to test the infamous Dark Tower's power. He unleashed a massive purple sword aura that wiped out the demon soldiers in one slash. Jinhan still couldn't believe Lufan had cleared the Dark Tower alone. He figured there had to be some trick. With total confidence, he was sure he could do it too. After struggling to defeat the soldiers, they were stunned to get 0 points for it. Something felt off about this Dark Tower, so they decided to go inside and check it out. Once in, they found 0 monsters and assumed the tower had already been cleared. Then, out of nowhere, they sensed a presence. A dark, swirling aura formed right in front of them. Their faces went pale with shock when all 3 Nine-Realm demons appeared at once. They looked absolutely terrified, like they'd just seen ghosts. Jinhan had this gut feeling that something seriously off was going down. Out of nowhere, Lufan popped up behind them and casually greeted them. He admitted he never expected them to actually find this place. Both of them were instantly on high alert when Lufan showed up. Musashi figured Lufan just happened to be here by coincidence. Lufan told them not to freak out. He'd come specifically looking for them. The more puppets Lufan gathered, the better he got at controlling them. Now he could even send them out to hunt monsters from a distance without lifting a finger. At this point, he had 3 massive Dark Tower armies collecting points for him from everywhere. He sent the smaller squads out to hunt, while the big boss monsters stayed behind to guard the Dark Tower. Musashi, full of confidence, urged Jinhan to take Lufan down right then and there and steal all his points. Jinhan thought Lufan would be an easy fight. What really worried him were those 3 boss monsters standing nearby. Lufan felt kinda insulted that they were straight up discussing their plans right in front of him like he wasn't a threat. Jinhan demanded Lufan spill his cheat for beating the Dark Tower, promising to spare his life if he cooperated. Lufan just sighed. He couldn't believe they actually thought he'd used some kind of exploit to farm points. But they were dead serious. No way a level 30 could solo the Dark Tower without cheating. Smirking, Lufan let them in on a little secret. He wasn't alone. His valuable allies were already behind them. And by allies, he meant the 3 demon of the 9 realm bosses now looming over Jinhan and Musashi. Jinhan found it weird how eerily still the boss monsters were. Normally, they'd be rampaging at the sight of intruders. He briefly wondered if Lufan was controlling them, but that idea seemed too crazy to believe. Lufan flipped the script, saying if there was a cheat, the Tai Nation would have known first, then threw shade at them for supposedly manipulating quests whenever they wanted. Musashi had enough and lunged at Lufan without another thought. Cool as ever, Lufan said he'd show them proof, then snapped his fingers. Instantly, the 3 boss monsters moved in to attack. Jinhan panicked and yelled at Musashi to run. He still refused to believe Lufan hadn't cheated. No one in history had ever controlled ancient monsters like this. Too bad the centipede boss wasn't about to let them escape. It cut off their exit. Then it swatted Jinhan aside like he was some worthless bug. He hit the ground hard, completely dazed. Before he could process anything, the Earthshade demon was already staring him down. Freaking out, Jinhan ordered his shadow creature to attack, but the demon obliterated it in one hit. A single strike was all it took to wipe out his strongest summon. Despair and terror crept through Jinhan's body. He scrambled to escape, refusing to die like some nobody. He was the pride of the Tai Nation after all. Before he could even finish that thought, the Earthshade demon smashed him like a cockroach, killing him instantly. Lufan casually explained he hadn't cheated. This was all his hard work paying off. Musashi, still stubborn, stood his ground, puffing himself up just like Jinhan had. He unleashed his full power, a massive purple sword aura slashing toward Lufan. But the centipede boss ended him just as easily, snapping his prized weapon like a chocolate stick. Lufan was honestly tired of these so-called number ones who talked big but died like insects. Then he noticed something weird. His points hadn't gone up at all. That's when he remembered Jinhan's class skill. The guy could revive himself. Somewhere in the desert, a sandy battlefield, Jinhan and Musashi found themselves revived. The Jinhan creatures were down to their last 5 lives, meaning they could only be resurrected 5 more times. Musashi was thrilled. With this ability, death wasn't something to fear, but Jinhan wasn't on the same page. Jinhan saw no point in coming back over and over if he couldn't even defeat Lufan. He refused to waste his life and decided to search for another dark tower, hoping to find a way to tame the ancient monsters. Musashi urged Jinhan to quit stalling and get moving. Suddenly, a weakness spell hit Musashi, leaving him paralyzed and drained. Jinhan told him not to panic. It was just a side effect of resurrection. They'd be weak for about 10 minutes. Jinhan suggested taking it easy, while they slowly made their way toward the ultimate mission. But out of nowhere, a massive explosion erupted behind them. Musashi's head was suddenly impaled by a giant axe. The attack came from Andre, who remembered the warning at the banquet. Never cross paths with him. And now, here they were. Andre was ready to settle all his debts with Jinhan. Andre lunged forward, aiming to finish Jinhan in one strike. Jinhan could only sit there, terrified, too weak to fight back. The attack landed, obliterating Jinhan in a massive explosion. Andre was confused. He definitely killed both of them. Yet, not a single point was added to his score. 2 weeks had passed since the national exam began, and the announcer was still hyped, reporting the competition's progress. Aunt Han and Xiaoman watched the broadcast from their TV. Meanwhile, Chiu and Ying caught the action from their classroom. Only 10 participants remained alive. Grandmaster Jing was also glued to the screen, curious about Lufan's next insane move. The announcer revealed the rankings. Musashi sat in 5th place with 460,000 points. Jinhan held 4th place with 510,000 points. Andre, casually lounging under the clear sky, was in 3rd with 685,000 points. Charles, stationed in the volcanic zone, took 2nd with 728,000 points. He prayed to the holy mountain, swearing he'd take down Lufan. And in 1st place, of course, Lufan dominated with a whopping 7 million points. He'd just taken down another demon of the 9 realms. In those 2 weeks, Lufan and his dragon had leveled up hard, hitting level 41. He even unlocked a new skill, Dragon Domain. And in just 14 days, he'd conquered and tamed every last demon of the 9 realms. Lufan checked out the effects of his Dragon Domain skill, which created a special 100-meter zone. It boosted all dragon races by 50%, while weakening non-dragon races by the same amount. Any enemy caught inside the domain couldn't escape. No teleportation, summoning, or movement skills would work. With this advantage, Lufan knew dealing with Jinhan would be a piece of cake. Out of nowhere, he got a notification that he'd been marked as a PvP bounty target. Instead of panicking, Lufan was pumped. Free points without having to hunt anyone down. Sweet. Turns out, the one who took the mission was Charles. Charles had secretly teamed up with Jinhan and Musashi to take Lufan out. Jinhan knew Charles wasn't someone to mess with. He tried using ultimate mission against him but got completely wrecked. Jinhan and Musashi warned Charles about Lufan's ability to control the demon of the 9 realms. Charles just smirked and said he could do the same, admitting it wasn't even his own power. Jinhan was totally confused and demanded answers. Charles promised to show them firsthand in 3 minutes. Meanwhile, in the Secret Realm's central control room, 2 staff members were chatting. Out of nowhere, a mysterious woman walked up to them. She straight up killed one of them without hesitation. The other guy froze as she threatened him to stay quiet if he wanted to live, but she was just messing with him. Seconds later, he was dead too. Then she yanked out the control room's cables like it was nothing. She reported her mission complete. Turns out she was an agent sent by the Morgan family. Back in the VIP room, the screens went dark, sending the Thai officials into a panic as they scrambled to fix it. The vice principal suspected it was some trick pulled by the Thai nation. Mr. Han disagreed, knowing there were way stronger family capable of pulling this off. Elsewhere, Thai's overseer was talking to someone who claimed to have important business. The guy was from the Morgan family, but suddenly he cut the conversation short. He just walked away without even waiting for a response, leaving the overseer hanging. A little later, Charles dropped a bombshell about ancient gods controlling other beings, leaving Jinhan and Musashi in disbelief. Charles didn't care if they bought it. He bragged that he had the same power. Then he pulled out 2 Holy Mountain Essence Stones. He offered them to Jinhan and Musashi, who were desperate for power. But Charles made it clear, this wasn't a gift, it was a deal. He wanted them to allow the Morgan family to explore ancient god ruins in Tai and Sakura Nation. After weighing their options, Jinhan finally caved. He agreed, but only if Charles took care of Lufan first. The moment Jinhan used the Holy Mountain essence, insane power surged through him. Charles tossed the other stone to Musashi, telling him to hurry up and decide before anyone noticed. Musashi gave in and took the deal. Charles warned him not to resist his master's consciousness. As for the last stone, Charles was saving it for Lufan. With a creepy grin, he planned to turn Lufan into his master's puppet. In the National Exam Control Room, Overseer Tai finally arrived at the murder scene, his expression grim. He outright refused to call the police for help, insisting that he and his team would handle the investigation themselves. Overseer Tai had already figured out that the Morgan family was behind everything. Meanwhile, Lufan made his way toward the volcanic zone, too impatient to wait around. He decided to track down on his own. As he moved, he kept scanning the area, staying alert. But by sheer chance, he stumbled upon Yasangrai, the guy he'd met before. Lufan figured he might as well check in and see how many points the guy had. Yasangrai, spotting Lufan, lit up with excitement and hurried over to greet him. Lufan was shocked when he saw Yasangrai's score, only 150,000 points, the lowest among all remaining participants. The guy seemed downright ridiculous to Lufan, still acting all friendly when the competition was reaching its bloodiest phase. Lufan warned him to cut it out. Being nice during the final stretch was a sure way to get killed. Suddenly, Nyx sensed an enemy nearby and immediately activated her perception skill to scout the area. Sure enough, an ambush hit. Massive hands burst from the ground, snatching Yasangrai before he could react. The monstrous limbs shifted into wild beast forms, devouring Yasangrai alive as he screamed for help. The same hands lunged at Lufan next, but he whipped out his dark serpent bow, deflecting the attack, while Nyx jumped in to back him up. Yasangrai didn't stand a chance. His death left only 9 contestants remaining. Then Jinhan and Musashi showed up, smirking like they owned the place, and casually greeted Lufan. Lufan shot back by calling them Holy Mountain's lackeys, his tone dripping with sarcasm. He could tell from the energy in their attacks, they reeked of Holy Mountain's influence. And he was dead sure Charles was the one pulling their strings. Right on cue, Charles appeared, smugly offering Lufan a, quote, generous opportunity. He summoned Holy Mountain essence, trying to tempt Lufan into ditching his current master and joining him instead. That just confirmed Lufan's suspicions. Jinhan and Musashi had definitely sold out to Charles. Lufan laughed in their faces, mocking their assumption that he'd ever bow to someone. He bragged that the 3 of them combined were barely worth one of his dragon. The bold claim stunned them, but Charles refused to believe it. He ordered Jinhan and Musashi to attack, calling it payback. Jinhan went first, hurling giant hand strikes, but Lufan dodged effortlessly. Musashi charged next, only for Lufan to fire off a volley of magic arrows. Not that it mattered. Musashi blocked every single one without breaking a sweat. He then slapped on a demon mask, boosting his attack stats, and taunted Lufan to join them or die. That pissed Lufan off. They were seriously underestimating him, even though he'd slaughtered countless ancient gods' minions during his training up north. For a second, Lufan just stood there silently, swearing in his head that he wouldn't let any of them walk away alive. Musashi mistook his silence for fear, smirking about the overwhelming power of Holy Mountain. Big mistake. Lufan shifted Nyx into Destruction Dragon form and unleashed her lava explosion skill. Musashi barely managed to dodge the fiery blast, but the heat alone made him sweat. Then, Lufan summoned Fei, remembering how much stronger his 2 fallen corpse dragons had gotten after their power-up experiments. A new plan formed in his mind. Why not steal their Holy Mountain essence for himself? Nyx then unleashed her lava explosion skill, combining it with some serious dragon language magic for extra punch. Without missing a beat, she blasted a wave of scorching fire straight at all of them. Jinhan freaked out, scrambling to dodge the attack, barely managing to leap sideways in time. Musashi, on the other hand, tried blocking the fiery breath with both his swords, though it clearly wasn't easy. Lufan barked at Jinhan to summon something that could actually stand up to his dragon. But Jinhan just looked lost. That was his strongest summon. Not stopping there, Lufan threw some shade at Musashi too, mocking him for already struggling after just one attack. Then, he turned his taunts toward Charles, sarcastically thanking him for sending these two weaklings his way. Charles wasn't about to take that disrespect. He immediately activated his flame of divine punishment, ready to fight back. Fiery orbs shot from Charles' weapon, speeding straight toward Lufan. Lufan deflected them like they were nothing, laughing it off and mocking Charles' master for being just as weak. That pissed Charles off big time. He pulled out his holy mountain essence and shattered it without hesitation. A golden aura swirled around his hands, forming an intense, blinding light. In seconds, he transformed into a six-winged angel and started chanting his spells. Lufan wasn't going to let that slide. He fired off a few magic arrows at Charles using his dark serpent bow. But Charles's summon easily blocked the attacks like they were nothing. Lufan activated Dragon Encouragement, boosting all his stats by 30%. He and Nyx went for a combo attack. Lufan with his bow, Nyx with another lava explosion. The two strikes landed at the same time, aiming straight for the angel. The angel summoned, charged at them, unfazed. Lufan gave the signal, and they unleashed their attacks together. The blast hit the angel square in the face, creating a massive explosion. But shockingly, the angel just kept coming. Their attacks did 0 damage. Lufan didn't panic. Instead, he shifted Nyx into her World Ender form. She let out a dragon's roar, slapping the angel with a nasty debuff. Lufan followed up with more magic arrows. But suddenly, Musashi came at him with a flurry of purple sword slashes, while Jinhan summoned a giant hand to restrain Nyx. Lufan was barely holding his own against the onslaught. Then, a holy fireball came flying at him from behind. Lufan sliced it clean in half using Nyx's sword aura. The enemies looked way too smug, thinking they'd finally separated Lufan from his dragon, like he was nothing without her. But Lufan just smirked and asked if they really thought they had him trapped. They called his bluff, accusing him of just running his mouth. Then suddenly the Earthshade demon appeared behind Charles. Jinhan got wrapped up by a centipede boss, and Musashi found himself staring down a lion boss's jaws. Turns out, Lufan had predicted their moves from the start and played along just to distract them. Charles still acted tough, scoffing that Lufan couldn't possibly beat them with just a few fallen puppets. Lufan just laughed and agreed. Then, with a sly smile, he snapped his fingers. In an instant, every single demon of the 9 realms showed up. Eagle Boss, Spider Boss, Bear Boss, Mammoth Boss, you name it. They started freaking out even more when they saw Lufan casually taming every single one of the 9-realm demons. Lufan couldn't help but mock their earlier confidence, which had now completely vanished. But Charles still believed he could take Lufan down with the Holy Mountain's power, so he activated Divine Sanctuary without hesitation. This skill gave his allies a major boost in speed, defense, and attack power for a full minute. Charles immediately went on the offensive, targeting the Earthshade demon with his enhanced abilities. Jinhan wasn't far behind, finally breaking free from the giant centipede boss's grip. Musashi joined in, slashing at the lion boss with a fierce purple sword aura. Charles scoffed at the 9-realm demons, convinced they were no match for the Holy Mountain's power. Lufan just laughed at their so-called buffs, pointing out how weak they were compared to Fei's enhancements. Right on cue, Fei stacked every buff she had onto the demon bosses. Their stats skyrocketed to insane levels in an instant. The now supercharged demon bosses wasted no time and charged straight at Charles and his team. Nyx wasn't about to sit back either. With her own buffs in play, she made her move. She crushed Jinhan's summoned creature in one brutal bite like it was nothing. Lufan decided it was time to spice things up even further. Finally, he activated Dragon Domain. The ground and space around them twisted, transforming into the territory of dragons. The others couldn't believe it. There was no way someone at level 30 should have been able to use a skill like that. Charles, still full of himself, was sure he could shatter the domain with his weapon. He launched a massive, overpowered strike straight at Lufan, but the Eagle Boss casually swatted the attack away like it was some weak, everyday move. Charles was completely baffled. How could his 500% boosted attack get destroyed so easily? Jinhan and Musashi started feeling something was off. They were getting weaker, and Jinhan lost the connection to his summons. Eventually, Charles realized the truth. The domain was strengthening Lufan's summons while draining their own power. Lufan wondered if they'd just die right then and there, without putting up much of a fight. But Charles kept running his mouth, saying he'd given Lufan a chance, and now he was going to kill him for refusing it. He activated Endless Holy Light, a skill that trapped and assaulted its target with searing beams. The attack was so powerful, it tore apart the ground and the entire battlefield. The vice principal watched in horror, worried about the sheer destruction unfolding. Meanwhile, Mr. Han stayed perfectly calm, keeping his eyes locked on Lufan. Suddenly, everyone froze in shock and terror, unable to believe what they were seeing. Fei had shielded them all with her barrier skill, effortlessly blocking the attack. Lufan pulled out his dagger. Now it was his turn to strike. Nyx unleashed her dragon's roar, paralyzing them with a debilitating debuff. Panic set in hard. Their ears felt like they were about to burst from the sheer force of the roar. Jinhan desperately told Musashi to form an abyss contract so they could resurrect after death. But before Musashi could react, Nyx's dagger-enhanced sword aura sliced right through him, killing him instantly. Jinhan could only stare in horror. And sure enough, Jinhan couldn't sense Musashi's presence anymore. He was really gone. Jinhan was starting to lose it, frustration and fear creeping in as he realized he couldn't connect with his summoned creatures at all. Charles wasn't about to go down without a fight. He straight up demanded Jinhan hand over an abyss contract to save his own skin. But Lufan wasn't playing around. In one swift move, he took Jinhan's head clean off, then casually told Charles there was no point talking to a corpse. Just like that, Lufan's points shot up, matching Jinhan's total, proof that Jinhan was really, truly dead. Charles was completely thrown off. How was Lufan so much stronger when they were both supposed to be servants of the ancient gods? With no other options left, Charles tapped into his last resort. An eerie yellow energy started coiling through his body. But Lufan wasn't dumb enough to wait around. Before Charles could finish powering up, Lufan ended him. No dramatic last stands here. The moment Charles dropped, a holy mountain essence stone burst out of his body. Then, like it had a mind of its own, the stone took off, flying in some random direction. Lufan wasn't about to let it escape. Wings sprouted from his back as he prepared to chase it down. He shot after the stone, determined not to let some parasitic rock do whatever it wanted. After what felt like forever, Lufan finally spotted a perfect piece of the Holy Mountain essence. Meanwhile, back in the VIP viewing area, the crowd was losing it. Lufan had just soloed 3 nation representatives. Even Vice Principal, Mr. Han, and Overseer Tai were shaken. Overseer Tai bolted from the room, not sticking around to explain the mess. But Mr. Han noticed. Of course he did. Overseer Tai was freaking out. How the hell was he supposed to break the news to the Jin family? The Tai nation had poured everything into Jinhan, and now he was just gone. Out of nowhere, dark, shadowy tentacles wrapped around Overseer Tai. Jinhan's father appeared, his voice ice cold as he demanded answers about his dead son. Overseer Tai had no choice but to admit the truth. He'd take whatever punishment was coming. He tried explaining that Lufan was just too strong. Even an alliance between Charles, Musashi, and Jinhan hadn't stood a chance. But Jinhan's father wasn't having any excuses. He tortured Overseer Tai mercilessly for failing his promise. Still, he gave him one last shot. His orders were simple. Lufan wasn't leaving the Tai nation alive. No excuses. Every hero who'd ever fought the Demon of the Nine Realms would be called in to make sure of it. Back with Lufan, he finally got his hands on the stone. Curiosity hit him what would happen if he gave it to the fallen corpse demon. So, without overthinking it, he tossed the stone to one of the fallen corpse dragons. The moment it swallowed the thing, its body lit up, blazed with an intense, radiant light. The fallen corpse dragon Yang, which had originally been a deep purple, had now transformed into a bright yellow, evolving into an entirely new species known as the Corpse Holy Dragon. Fei was completely impressed seeing 2 of her subordinates undergo such a radiant transformation. They now possessed different innate skills, Holy Light Blessing, which boosted their attributes by 30% and provided periodic healing. Then Holy Light Gate, a skill that allowed Lufan to freely summon or dismiss creatures without needing Fei's direct involvement. Lufan wondered if the Holy Dragon could evolve even further if given additional stone. Meanwhile, the other examinees had initiated a vote to end the test early. All 6 participants, including Andre, who had no desire to fight Lufan, agreed to conclude the exam. Lufan saw no point in continuing either, so he went along with the decision. As a reward for completing the national exam, several treasures based on his accumulated points materialized before him. His curiosity was piqued by the rumored grand prize for first place, which was supposedly something incredibly rare. The first reward turned out to be a belt capable of transforming its wearer into a golden dragon king, granting them several unique abilities. The second prize was a skill book called Dragon Language Replication, allowing the user to copy dragon language magic from their tamed dragons. Lastly, there was the Scroll Expansion Pack, which randomly granted 3 rare or higher grade scrolls. Without hesitation, Lufan used the Scroll Expansion Pack, hoping luck would be on his side. To his surprise, all 3 scrolls were incredible, the first being the Pet Slot Expansion Scroll he had been searching for. The second was an Enhancement Scroll that could upgrade equipment by 1 grade. And the last was a Level Removal Scroll. Immediately, Lufan used the Level Removal Scroll on the newly acquired belt. This allowed him to equip the belt right away without any restrictions. Next, he applied the Enhancement Upgrade Scroll to his weapon. The weapon's status skyrocketed to Legendary Plus tier, with several additional attribute boosts. Just like that, Lufan's power had reached an entirely different level. With his business settled, Lufan returned to the battle arena through the secret realm portal. The audience's reactions were mixed. Some were furious because their prince, Jinzhu, had been killed, while others were begging for autographs. Mr. Han and the vice principal quickly stepped in, dispersing the reporters before approaching Lufan. They congratulated him, praising his unbelievable achievement. They had always been stuck in 3rd place before, so no one expected Lufan to actually clinch first rank. Out of nowhere, Mr. Han handed Lufan the Golden Griffin Troop Badge. Lufan was in disbelief. Only 8 people in history had ever held this golden badge. Now he was the 9th, instantly elevating his social status within the Dragon Nation, putting him just below the 3 elders and Grandmaster Jing in authority. Feeling a bit awkward, Lufan accepted all the rewards with an uneasy smile. Overseer Tai then congratulated all the surviving participants and prepared to announce the winners. First place went to Lufan, who had accumulated a staggering 8 million points. Second place was secured by Andre from the Snow Nation. Mr. Han laughed, calling Lufan insane for single-handedly claiming 91% of the total points. After that, Mr. Han excused himself, exhausted and in need of rest. He invited them to return to the Dragon Nation the next day, where the 3 elders had prepared a grand reward for Lufan. The vice principal joked that Lufan had hit the jackpot big time this round. After arriving at the hotel, Lufan decided to rest while admiring the golden badge he'd earned. A hint of pride swelled in his chest. He'd even made the previous assessment envoy kneel before him. For now, he set the badge aside, focusing on what came next. He immediately used the Pet Slot Expansion Scroll. Finally, the moment he'd been waiting for had arrived. Lufan called his dragons together. Nyx was excited about gaining a new sibling, while Fei seemed a little uneasy about the blue dragon egg he planned to hatch. He started the dragon taming process, reminding the others to play nice. The egg began to crack slowly, triggering the phenomenon of a dragon's birth. Powerful lightning bolts streaked across the sky, as if welcoming the arrival of the thunder-type dragon. Out emerged an adorable yet striking baby dragon, its body covered in sharp scales and horns. The little one was named Blue Dragon, a male specializing in lightning magic attacks. Like the others, it tried to eat its own eggshell, while Lufan was shocked to have his first male dragon. Everyone celebrated the hatchling's arrival, though the baby just stared confused at its older siblings. Lufan reached out to hold it, but the baby noticed his approaching hand. In response, it chomped down on his finger with its tiny, sharp teeth. Lufan was baffled. None of his dragons had ever bitten him before. The little dragon seemed annoyed, refusing to let go. Pain and confusion hit Lufan as he struggled with its aggressive behavior. Astra, meanwhile, burst into giggles at their new siblings' antics. When Nyx reached over to pry the baby off Lufan, it turned its head. Unfortunately, Nyx got bitten too. This dragon had a mischievous, wild streak. Nyx wasn't having it and smacked the hatchling's head to teach it a lesson. As for its skill, they were terrifying. Some caused massive area damage, some struck as fast as lightning, and others had no cooldown at all. After reviewing its abilities, Lufan decided to name it. Nearby, Astra eyed the leftover eggshell curiously. Seeing its shell about to be eaten, the baby dragon got furious. It lunged at Astra, but Astra easily pinned it down. The hatchling's wildness meant nothing to a rebellious dragon like him. A quick lesson later, the baby was crying for mercy. After the scuffle, the group settled down. Lufan rubbed his temples, already stressed about having two unruly dragons. After some thought, he named the blue dragon Little Blue. No reaction. Clearly, the name didn't sit well with it. Lufan got the hint. This dragon would grow into something fearsome, so he renamed it Abao. Abao's eyes lit up, shimmering with excitement over the new name. But then it spotted Lufan's finger again and couldn't resist another bite. Nyx scolded it, but Abao refused to listen, sparking another fight. Lufan felt his stress level spike. Dealing with Astra was hard enough, and now Abao's aggression was pushing him over the edge. Suddenly, the system pinged him with a daily treasure map. This time, luck was on his side. He scored a divine treasure map after ages. Meanwhile, at the western border of the Dragon Nation, inside the Yi family residence, a figure sat alone in a pavilion. It was Lufan's senior sister, watching news of his victory with a pleased smile. She'd predicted this outcome. After all, the weapon she'd given Lufan was no ordinary one. Suddenly, she coughed badly, a sign of internal injuries. The damage was taking a toll, weakening her body bit by bit, and behind it all, the Huang family was pulling the strings. Out of nowhere, a servant rushed to inform Senior Yi that the Huang family had arrived. Senior Yi immediately knew why they'd come. They were after the Yun Mountain resources owned by the Yi family. She wondered how the dragon family would respond, but the servant reported they hadn't reacted at all. Annoyed, Senior Yi felt abandoned in the middle of her crisis. Her frustration worsened her injuries until she coughed up blood. She ordered the servant to escort her to confront those damned Huangs. She wanted to see just how shameless they'd act. Meanwhile, Lufan was checking out some secret realms gifted by Elder Han during his journey. He remembered Elder Han handing him 10 secret realms at the airport a few days back. These realms weren't accessible to just anyone, no matter how rich they were. Then, one realm in particular caught Lufan's eye. It was the level 70 Sea of Death, where the divine treasure map was supposedly hidden. Lufan told Elder Han he'd take that realm, and the Elder praised his choice. But since it was near the border, Elder Han arranged for the Vice Principal to prepare a teleportation gate. After that, Elder Han left, but Lufan stuck around since he'd promised Andre a drink. Back in the present, the Vice Principal informed Lufan they'd arrived in the Dragon Nation. A crowd was already waiting, cheering for Lufan the moment they landed. He stepped out, thanking everyone for their support. Embarrassed, Lufan begged the Vice Principal to hurry back to the academy. He wasn't used to this attention. An hour later, they finally arrived, with Lufan and the Vice Principal chatting casually. From a distance, Aunt Han waved, overjoyed to see Lufan back. They'd gone all out with over-the-top victory banners. Lufan cringed at the awkward, excessive celebration. Aunt Han, being sentimental, cried tears of relief seeing him safe. After saying goodbye to the Vice Principal, Lufan headed home with her. As usual, a feast followed the celebration, and everyone shared stories about Lufan's exam journey. Lufan thought of Senior Yi, hoping she'd be proud of his achievements. Meanwhile, at the Jin estate, Supervisor Tai reported Lufan's whereabouts to the Jin Patriarch. The Patriarch immediately ordered elite military troops to surround and kill Lufan. Overseer Tai thought it was overkill, mobilizing a national army for one guy. The Patriarch snapped, furious at Tai's stupidity. No wonder his son had died under this idiot's watch. Terrified, Tai scrambled to obey. The Patriarch decided to go himself, just to make sure Lufan ended up dead. Near the border, right by the entrance to the hidden realm known as the Sea of Death, Things were about to get interesting. Lufan gathered his team, ready to take on the challenges of the mysterious realm ahead. But he couldn't help but feel a little confused when he spotted a Tai Nation outpost nearby. Just then, Miss Jiu showed up and filled them in. Apparently, Tai Nation was on high alert after spotting the Dragon Nation setting up a teleportation gate in the area. The group greeted Guhan and asked what she was doing there. Miss Guhan explained that the Academy was worried about Lufan and had sent her to keep an eye on him. Aunt Han thanked her, grateful that the Academy was looking out for Lufan so well. Without wasting time, Miss Guhan led Lufan straight to the entrance of the Sea of Death, right before he stepped through the portal. Instead of wishing him safety, she told him to enjoy whatever rewards awaited him. Lufan just smirked knowingly and motioned for everyone to follow him into the hidden realm. Inside, the first thing Lufan saw was a skeleton warrior gripping a massive sword, surrounded by a thick green aura. Xiaoman and Chiu immediately got hyped, eager to show off their skills by taking the skeleton down. Xiaoman struck first, trapping the skeleton in a crushing wave of water. Then Ying froze it solid with her new frost sword. Chiu followed up by chanting her holy light spell, Starry Annihilation, and unleashed it on the monster. The combo attack wiped the skeleton out completely, no trace left. Lufan was impressed, praising how much stronger they'd gotten. The three of them beamed, proud of their teamwork and progress. Lufan meant it. Not many level 30 adventurers could take down a level 65 monster like that. Out of nowhere, Lufan pulled out his dark serpent bow and fired off a few magic arrows. The arrows shot past Xiaoman in a flash. Another monster lurking behind them got obliterated in one hit. Ying was stunned. Lufan's power had grown so much that it left her in awe. Xiaoman and Chiu felt a little embarrassed now, realizing their earlier display was nothing compared to his strength. Aunt Han told Lufan to summon all his dragons so they could level up together. Lufan admitted he had a new dragon, but warned them its personality was unpredictable. The team got excited. Lufan now had a sixth dragon and asked what it could do. So Lufan called out a bow to introduce them. And just as he expected, lightning crackled wildly as a bow appeared, putting Ying and Xiaoman on edge. A bow materialized with a scowl, looking every bit as aggressive and untamed as Lufan had hinted. Without warning, the dragon went berserk, raining down lightning and slaughtering every monster nearby. The bolts struck with terrifying precision, wiping out the enemies in an instant.